Welcome to the video, and today I'm going to tell you how you can travel very cheaply and even for free. I'm going to split this video into different categories, including transport, food and accommodation. But let's start with how to travel actually for free, because I know you're desperate to hear that. But before we do, I'm Joel and I traveled the world since I was 18. I'm now 22 on a budget, and I'm going to show you how you can do that too. So there are a few ways you can actually travel for free. And one of these companies is called Worldpackers. They make you work a few hours a day, sometimes with days off as well in the week, and you work in exchange for accommodation and food, and often other stuff as well. And so you can actually live somewhere for pretty much free, whether that's in the rainforest, you could go work on a farm in Australia. There's lots of different stuff you can do in exchange for free food and accommodation. Now, another one of these things is working for a hostel, and then you get often the same thing, free accommodation and free food. And the best way to get this is to just ask hostels. They often won't advertise it. So all you have to do is, when you're traveling, go up to hostels and ask whether you can work for them in exchange for free accommodation. Before we get into the main things like transport and accommodation, etc., I'm going to just talk a few things which are really important and will help you. For example, you have to get a travel card. Travel cards let you get the best exchange rates, and they also let you withdraw money without ATM fees, because this is often a thing. When you withdraw money in another country, you often have to pay like 3% on top of withdrawing. So this can cost you quite a bit of money if you are abroad for an extended period of time. If you are a student, then please bring your student ID. Having a student ID can save you a lot of money. You can get much cheaper entry prices to quite famous attractions. The thing is, you've got to learn to haggle. Going to third world countries, this is just the way of life. So you've got to learn to haggle, and that will help you get the best price and save the most amount of money. One of the best ways to actually save money is to track your expenses, because if you know what's going out, you know maybe you shouldn't buy an extra drink, an extra beer or something. And what I use to do that is Wonder Wallet. It's actually a free app, so there's no reason why you shouldn't download it. And it's great. You can literally track your expenses every day, and it's such a great app. I'll show you there. Look at that. Boom, get it. Let's move on to how to save money with food and drink. Now, one of the best ways, if you're drinking and you want to have a good time and drink, then use happy hour. Often that is such a common thing all over the world, that you have happy hour and you can get some really good deals. And if you want to get drunk, just drink as much as you can in those happy hours. This is not advised all the time. And just, abuse it. Abuse happy hour and you'll still be able to have drinks and drink cheaply. So one thing which might be a bit more obvious, so don't come at me, but drink local beer, local wine, whatever's local, you drink that because it will be cheaper than imported beers and stuff. So another thing you can do, if you've got a kitchen, you're staying in a hostel, then make sure you cook your own meals. If you're somewhere expensive like Europe or the USA, then save your money, buy like pasta and pesto, spend next to nothing, and there you go. The other thing is shop at the local markets if you're somewhere in non-Western world, because then it's so much cheaper. Supermarkets can be quite expensive in places in Asia, but the local markets, super cheap. Another thing is, make sure you've got breakfast covered on your accommodation. When you book an accommodation, look that it says free breakfast, and then you're in for a good meal at the start of the day. Maybe you don't need lunch. So this thing is a bit of an investment at the start of your trip, but it is worth it. Give me a sec. That is a filtered water bottle. A filtered water bottle, you can literally, so a lot of places you can't actually drink the local water, but with this, it's got a special straw in which filters the water, so you can literally drink out the water out the tap. So, or you can even dunk it in the toilet, or from a sewage or a lake or something. Literally, this filters pretty much everything apart from salt water, so don't drink the sea. That's a bit stupid. Yeah, there you go. Use one of those. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Now, one of the big things which will have the most impact on how much money you spend is where you go. Obviously, if you go to Paris, New York, London, you're going to spend a lot of money, and you'll probably run out pretty quick, because I would. That's why I haven't been to Hawaii. I wish Hawaii was cheap because I'd be there, but I just can't go. I would run out of money. So what do? I go to cheap places. Places like Southeast Asia, Central America, South America. There are cheap places you can travel to where your money will last 10 times, even more than going to somewhere like Paris or London, etc. For lots of these places, you can travel for $20 US a day, $15 US a day, so your money will last so much longer. Another thing is, if you travel on off season, then it is a lot cheaper. For example, if you're in the rainy season, not as many people want to go, but it's literally just a hard downpour in the afternoon and prices are so much cheaper and there's not as many tourists. Another thing is, touristy places tend to be more expensive, as you probably know. But if you go to less touristy places, then there you go, you might save some more dollars. Let's move on to how to save money on accommodation. Now, one of the most obvious things is stay in hostels. They are often so much cheaper, but not all the time. So often guest houses, if you're in a pair or a couple of friends or in a couple, then often a price for a private room in somewhere like Asia is cheaper than staying in a hostel. So do your research, don't just book the first hostel you see. Do your research, see if a private room is cheaper. Use agoda.com, booking.com and Hostelworld. The best 3 apps I use, and they will find the best prices for you. Another free thing you can do is camping. Me and my girlfriend Amelia, we went around England quite a bit this summer, but we didn't want to stay in expensive Airbnbs and stuff, so we camped. It was so much cheaper than trying to stay in an Airbnb or whatever. If you're going away for a long time, then bring like hand wash to wash your clothes. Then you don't have to pay a laundry service to do it, and you just hang it up in a hostel. It's a common thing, so you won't just be hanging up your boxes and everyone will be looking at you strangely. A lot of people do it in hostels. Okay, so this one is my unique one, and maybe it's a bit wrong, but let me explain. I'm gonna get something. So often in hostels, people leave behind bottles, and then I fill up this little bottle. So what I do is I take this bottle and then I fill this one up. And honestly, in a year of traveling, I never bought any soap. I know it's something little, but it helps. I just always saw like some soap left behind. I'm like, I'll have that, thank you very much. And I fill this bottle up, and I've had this bottle for ages, and I just fill it up because I'm saving money. Okay, let's move on to the big one, how to save money with transport. Now, one thing that I've done before is hitchhiking. Obviously, it's not for everyone, and I understand that, but hitchhiking will save you loads of money. Another thing is, cycle. One of my friends is actually cycled from Belgium to Iran, which is very far, and now he's cycling around Australia. And so you can actually save so much money because instead of taking flights, you've just cycled all the way. And honestly, doing stuff like that, you see so much. I haven't done it, but it looks incredible, and it's something I'd probably do at some point. Now in Europe, everyone wants to go interrailing, but let me tell you a secret. Interrailing can be quite expensive, but cheap buses from cities are often so much cheaper than actually taking the trains. So if you don't just want to do the Instagrammable interrail trip, then take buses and you'll save a lot of money. Now, in a place like Southeast Asia, you often get these touristy minibuses which take people from their hostel all the way to the next city on the backpacker route. But if you actually take like the local bus from the bus terminal in the middle of the city, then you'll probably get that ticket for like half the price compared to getting picked up in a minibus and taken. Yeah, so take the actual local transport. Don't take the advertised transport. Do a bit of digging. Do some research online. Now let's move on to flights. I'm not the best at getting the cheapest flights, but I do know a few good things. So things like flying midweek, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, these are often the cheapest days to fly. The other thing is you want to be as flexible as possible with your dates, because if you're restricted to a few days, then you're going to have to spend more. If you're flexible, you've got so many dates to choose from, you can choose the exact cheapest date. The other thing is use a VPN. So VPNs, you can pretend you're, I don't know, in Bulgaria or somewhere, and these will often get you cheaper flights. This worked. I paid in Singapore dollars, but because I had a travel card, it was actually a really good exchange rate, and I saved, I think it was about 50 quid by just saying I was in another country. When to actually book your flights, they say 90 days is your sweet spot, but I mean, I don't really know, to be honest. What you should do is make sure you know when you arrive. Say you arrive at 2 a.m. in a new big city like Jakarta, and there's no way of getting public transport to your hostel or hotel, then you're going to have to spend a lot of money on an expensive taxi. Whereas if you can take public transport, which usually just run in the day from airports, you will save a lot of money. And I mean probably like a lot of money, whatever that is. Now guys, that is the end of the video. If you've got any questions about traveling cheap or anything at all, just DM me on Instagram, follow me, go on, do it. Hit subscribe, and I hope it was really useful. Yeah, just leave any questions, wherever, and I'll get back to you. I always do, or I always try to. So I'll see you in the next video. I think we're going to be talking about how to travel Southeast Asia. So see you then.